nothing really fresh. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Thornybush Private Nature Reserve. My name is Mark, and welcome to our live drive. Lovely Sunday afternoon, completely different weather to what we've had the last couple of days, and going into new moon, which is about tomorrow sometime. Well, we'll see what the new moon brings us in terms of game viewing. David on camera, Aaron in final control. A couple of nyala down the river. We can hardly see the bull. I don't know if you can see the female, but there was some impala crossing. But I went to look for leopard tracks, but sadly nobody has been around leopard wise. There were baboons barking around midday. Somewhere there's a cat. Welcome to Thornybush Private Nature Reserve. Actually, if we look down the river now, you can see that bull in the shade. Up on top of the bank, perfectly camouflaged. Now, see when he moves his tail mostly. Perfect position. So, Thornybush, what are you going to give us this afternoon? And planet Earth, who have you got watching this afternoon? Part of the planet are you in? Okay, which part of the planet are you in? And what is the best and most threatened natural feature of that part of the planet? That will send a few emails to the box. pretty obvious which is the most threatened and the most controversial animals here in South Africa at the moment. Although if we take Africa as a continent, we have our fair share of candidates in terms of threat aspects of the continent. What Africa doesn't realize, Africa and all who live in it, is that the very icons that are Africa are the very things that are being shot and killed at an alarming rate. Go figure. So once they're gone, then we just become another part of the global community, because then electronica and everything else takes over and the game reserves disappear and become mega cities. We've used up all the resources. When it comes to Africans, cows, sheep, goats, dogs, cats and rabbits. If you're lucky, but most of them are human. Path of the baboon. Now I need to look at the tracks quite. Oh, there's a squirrel kicking up dust as it runs away in the distance. Sorry, this is going to be into the sun. No, I don't know, maybe you could sort of quickly look at tracks. To establish that most of all of that is baboon, now one human. Oh, by the way, did you see me stamp my foot in the riverbed? Because there was an old elephant track there. And yeah, nothing much. Most of that troop of baboon. At some point in their travels along here, and then maybe more along the riverbed, they must have bumped into something, because they started barking alarm. Alarming. Shouting. All of the above. So, I get no takers on that question. not cat tracks, they're only their tracks that are the freshest of all. We can go back to the river, back along the river. To Aaron. You see something go in the grass? Couldn't tell whether it was reptile or bird or rodent or insectivore. But there is a number of possibilities. A small creature that looked like it could have or could not have had a tail. There are a number of reptiles, a number of small birds, a few small rodents, a number of small vertebrates. Exact same butterfly in the same place. Sure, it's the same butterfly. Males have territory. The male butterfly find their chosen spots actively defend their territory, check other males of the same species, because if you can outflap your opponent and have the best patch of fun at certain times of the day, especially if you have your host plant and it's in flower, or if your host plant is nearby, you've got nectar. He lost not too long. Here comes the baboon. Just made it as they arrive at the river. But sadly they're not going to let us watch. You can try. They walked in a straight line from where I last got out of the landing, and they walked in a straight line down to the river. We've done a bit of a zigzag. Dragonfly. Perhaps we can get a view of them as they're heading up the bank. Some might still come past us. We can find a gap here somewhere. Right there. Actually, not threatening them too. Well, this one might be too close. Hey? Go a little forward. Not too much in the foreground. Okay, here we go. See if we can watch some of this troop for a while. We haven't had the opportunity to, and a lot of this troop I think is still just north of us. Still have to come across the riverbed. Some of them are going to take up vantage points. If we were able to do this often enough, they would actually accept us. Starting with a day like today, when we're actually sitting and watching them. We've been under their trees when they're waking up in the morning enough times for them to realize that we're not there to chase them, but they still get nervous. But it's times like this that they're able to watch us from what they consider a safe distance. And in fact, some of them are even getting bored with us. Like, oh, big deal. 2 humans on a vehicle. Whoop-de-doo. They're not even doing anything. They're just staring at us. Boring. Let's go. There are more baboon things to do. So I offer you any baboon questions out there. See, I'm starting to think we're losing our interactiveness. Oh, yo. Aaron's come through on the radio. Maybe I'm making too many questions. There can never be too many questions. But what I'm thinking is... okay, Linda in Texas. Thanks, Linda. That's a response to an earlier question. Where you're from and what is the feature of your region. South Central Texas, where there's what's the fault, Aaron? The tectonic plate, I suppose, one of the offshoots of the San Andreas fault, no doubt. Something that must probably run into it. Oh, the Balcones fault. Balcones. Never heard of it. Thanks for enlightenment. You see, I'm learning. I've got an encyclopedia out there waiting to open up. And a large extinct volcano.
and cactus and coyote, cacti. Let's see, what would they be? Would they be kind of cacti? Barrel cacti? Certainly no. Probably a lot of puntia, maybe some agave, maybe some what's that big one called? I'll think of it. So goodbye, baboon. Where's the rest of the troop? They've gone. They're waiting to cross the road. They're starting to look at us. Probably. The soldiers are sneaking up behind us. But that's good. I want them to maybe just in this last little bit of time that we have left here at Thornybush, we can get to know these baboon a bit better. There's far too many to identify individuals, and until we get closer to them, I was saying that the whole idea behind our live drive is actually intercommunication and stopping with questions and answers. Let's continue our quest this afternoon. Okay, baboon, see, we're going to leave and we're not going to chase you, we're not going to call you names, we're not going to shake our fists at you. Bye, children. See you later. Yebo. Oh, Clancy. Yes, I would expect an answer from Clancy. I was asking what part of the world are you from, and what is the chief environmental threat, factor, or most endangered animal, or what is it about from where you are in the planet? So, I don't know where you are on the planet. It'd be nice to know how many little, if I were to put colored pins on a big atlas, a big map of the world, I wonder how many colors I would need. So, where you are, and what is it about your piece of the planet that is under most threat? Or just what is the feature about it that is so uniquely that piece of the planet? You see, where I come from, the icons are things like elephants and rhino and giraffe and lion and zebra. Giraffe and zebra mostly. There are lion in other parts of the world, there are elephants in other parts of the world, and there are rhino, well, actually no, maybe not so much. They're nearly gone from the rest of the world, and now the rest of the world wants ours. So, wow, we've still got one. But giraffe, there's nothing like it anywhere else, and kind of like Australia can say about the kangaroo, or most of, actually no, Australia can say that about everything, except the rabbit. They were imported. I'll pretend I don't know where Clancy's from. Yo. piglet. Look, there's some water. Okay. Okay. David, you'll have to speak up a bit probably. There's a question from Jerry. Jerry wants to know what's more challenging, running after meerkats or riding on the digger filming?
I would say both.
Both.
No, wait,
No.
digger.
The digger. It's a different subject.
Yeah.
And it's not exactly open like it is there. You've got to find your subject in that tiny little viewfinder with the sun shining on it. Yeah, that's what a lot of that's a behind the scenes. Did you know that the camera person has to frame the picture looking onto a screen that is most of the time in the light, facing the sunlight, because like now, best light is facing the animal in full light, which means that there's full light on the screen for the camera person. And there's no shield over that screen. And LCD screens aren't known for their what's the word? Brilliance in daylight. In sunlight. So what we have here are 3 generations of piglets by the looks of things. Mama looking towards us. Let me just look at my binoculars. Yes, that little one that's now coming this way. That's her daughter, possibly. And then the little one on the left. That's a little boy. Here's a little boy, her son from last year. He's a piglet from around December. She's got a big W shape. Oh, maybe it's an M shape. Doesn't matter if it's M or W. She's got one of my letters, both of my letters on her ear, her right ear. A big W shaped tear out of it. And I'd say that that other female is probably a daughter from a previous, from at least 2 years ago, if not maybe more. Most possibility that it's a sister, just with smaller tusks, but not likely. Might be her first daughter. Can't really age them by their tusks, but it could be her sister, or it could be her this one that's coming towards us now. Very bold and brave. We saw her already. We saw her this morning. I think it was this morning. Here comes the old lady now, coming around the side there. Look at her. Her mother. That's a nice shot of her. Any grass is in the way. Come onto the road, old girl. Towards the end of the drive when... Oh, see now, she's running away. When we stopped, when it was in the shade also this morning. The other side of the river, the same water, same crossing virtually, less than 100 yards away. She was walking on the road and I said stop, and she stopped. And then I thought, what if I'm not pushing my luck and ask her to do something and then she does it, so I thought I'd push my luck the other way and say, do something. And then she would do the opposite. So I said, but don't turn around then, and then she turned around. Sorry girl, don't run away. Especially the little boy. I want to see him. Only the three of them. The biggest fault. Look at that engine race. Come on, calm down, bigger. Rev down. Yeah, boy. Got it. The baboon troop. What happens to the males? They sent away like lonely Leo. Lionel the lion? Lonely male. He's not so lonely anymore. Only the warthog, but they're pretty big shade. We're going back across the river, by the way. Go look at the track. Something was about. Make sure that we're not missing where these cats went on my doorstep. Baboon males generally stay with the troop, but when they get very, very big, as adult males, comes a time when they want to take over as alpha. And either they do or they don't. If they don't, they become exiles. Maybe they get pushed out and they've got to join another troop. Hopefully. In which case, I'm not really sure where they would fit in on the social ladder. One would imagine that it's way down at the bottom. But I don't think we can be so presumptuous as to say what happens, because every single baboon troop, every single baboon is... Okay, these are probably the baboons. Pardon? People. Okay, we've got 12, 1. Okay. Looking into the sun. But those two Franklins I'm more concerned with. Oh right, it's just not a actually a goshawk. It wasn't a people. Sure I've seen it. Sorry, I'm distracted because there are two Franklins that flew towards us screaming, which means something disturbed them. While it could have been the baboon, it might be something sneaking away from the baboon. But now we've got this character who's just flown into this Thornybush tree. Could have been him. There it is. And I hope we're going to get a shot of it, because can you see it, David? Yeah. Try not to move too quickly, and if there's any possibility of getting it through this gap, oh, it's gone. Looks like a juvenile African goshawk. Could have been, that's why the Franklins were freaking out. Could be that goshawk just made a play for one of the Franklins. Being a little inexperienced, perhaps, thinking it could catch a Franklin. Maybe it has before. Who might have judged a goshawk? Yes, there is. No, frog. Bobby Baha. Oh, golly gosh. Bobby wants to know what tree seemed to be blooming. Sorry. Hi, Bobby. Which tree was blooming that the baboons were in? Oh gosh, I don't know. I forgot now. I don't know if it was blooming, but I can't even remember now because I was looking at more baboon. I'm not sure which baboon tree you were looking at. Remember, I'm seeing a whole range of a whole panoramic view, and you're only seeing what the camera's showing you. So I'm possible. Can we take a rain check on that question? Because that's perhaps just the problem with delay. We need to maybe somehow get the, I don't know how we will even change that to be able to ensure that if you've got a question about what's on screen at that particular point in time, we can address that question as quick as possible. No, it wasn't a juvenile African gosh. Wasn't a gabar either. Could have been a juvenile dark chant. I don't know. Once it's gone, it's hard to remember what it's about. Zebra were here. What did the flowers look like, Bobby? But I don't recall. I don't recall any of the trees in bloom there. I mean, you know how excited I get about flowers, and if there was something in flower, I sure would have seen it. Might have just been the appearance of light reflecting off leaves. Yes. Question from Rachel in New Jersey. Hey. New Jersey. I like New Jersey. One day I'll get to Woodcliff Lake. Now, New Jersey is just across the river from Manhattan. It's quite amazing. About baboons, lifespan of a baboon, and question about their diet. Are they meat eaters or they mostly, well, they are omnivorous, I'll say that much. They are omnivorous, so that means that they eat plant and animal matter. They mostly eat, no, there's no mostly about it. They eat a variety of things. There are times when the grasses are green, and you'll find on a short grass area, they'll actually be sitting down on the grasses, picking blade for blade and actually feeding on grass. In fact, you know what? Baboon's diet is almost identical to a bear's diet. Except you've got to remember that baboons are a little bit more dexterous with their fingers than maybe bears are. Bears have got claws and big paws, but baboons have got grasping hands and grasping feet. I've seen baboons grasping sausage tree fruit with all fours, with holding it with their feet and their, because sausage tree fruit can only really be eaten by a big mammal like an elephant or a hippo. Not only, but it is easier for them because they're big animals and they just crunch through them. But for smaller animals, it's very, very fibrous, and they'll use all fours. But they'll eat fruit, they'll eat grasses, they'll eat leaves, they'll eat berries, they'll eat seeds, they'll eat grass seeds, they eat insects and spiders and scorpions. They're deathly afraid of snakes. They have some primates have this inherited fear of snakes. They're able to snatch scorpions from under rocks and break off the stings and gobble them up. They eat birds' eggs, they eat birds. They're known to rip into a weaver bird colony and raid the nest and only eat the crop or the stomach contents of whatever bird they manage to catch, because the seed diet is better than the feathers and the meager amount of meat they might get from the bird, but the quantity of seed that is in the gut of a bird is several hours of foraging by one baboon. So to take one bird, there's a lot of seed there. It's like a granola. I better not say it, you'll never look at them the same way. But yeah, it's like a granola bar. I had to say it. Just had to say it. It's like a granola bar for them. But now, here is a hidden story about baboons in that, I know we're looking at a kudu and talking about baboons, but didn't plan on the kudu. Every now and then they get a little bit of a hankering for protein, and it generally happens in the onset of summer, at the end of the dry season, when they're sort of really finding it hard to keep their daily allowance of vitamins and minerals. And that's when they grab baby warthog and baby impala or baby gazelles, or that's when they rip into the flesh and they eat the flesh and they eat red meat. They have a range of diets. They dig up roots. Go ahead. That's an interesting question, actually. It's a very interesting question. Donna. Where's Donna from, Aaron? Does Donna say? Donna is asking if the females are responsible for the youngsters, or do the males play a part in the upbringing? Oh, that's right, Port Charlotte, Florida. Oh, we do have a few Donnas that write in with questions, but this is Port Charlotte, Florida. I think it different troops, different behavior patterns are found. I think you find that in some cases males are very, very tender towards children and they tolerate them and they do play a role, and in some cases you find they're actually quite belligerent and can use children to get to the females, to cause strife amongst the females, to get back at the females. I've seen big males actually kidnap children from mothers and not hold them ransom as such, but no way of knowing what it was that the male wanted, but definitely keeping the child from his mother or its mother for some period of time cunt to go roll forward for me. His gravity. These poodles, there are still some under the tree. But yes, of course the males play a very big and a very important role in the upbringing of young baboons, because they are the security of the troop. They are the... Stop there, little one. They're the protectors. They're the ones that come to the aid of the troop when they need to. I've seen baboon attacking big male leopard. I've seen them attacking cheetah. I've seen them mobbing lion. The troop of baboon that want to protect their females and their young. The males, even the females, quite a force to be reckoned with. Sure. Okay. Wow. Okay, that's good. For now. So you're cutting to that camera. Okay, well at least we record it. Let's see if we can watch it. See now, when the females run into the bush, then the youngsters follow them. If it wasn't for the adults being so afraid, the youngsters would calm down and actually calm the adults down. Like that youngster hiding behind. Here comes another female. Right. We'll wait. The other mother. She's waiting for her mother. Still coming out of the bush. Now you don't have to eat along the way. We're waiting for you to appear. Sunday afternoon. People are all over the world are waiting to see you. To listen to the radio a little bit, see what's going on in the rest of Thornybush. Not moving. But now she is. As soon as I say one thing, the opposite happens when it comes to mating. Yo. Gibble. Deal. Candelaya. Canada. No, Florida. Florida. Southwest Florida. Wow. David. On an island. But would it be correct in saying that's one of the keys, David? Florida. I don't know. Sounds pretty amazing. Surrounded by paradise. Marshes. I suppose those lovely turquoise waters. And high rainfall, and like everything grows profusely, so it's a green paradise. Got a gap there. No. She was just almost framed there, but great fishing as well, David says. I bet wahoo fishing. Tarpon. I bet some pretty good diving too. Probably one of those islands where some of the very first fruit bats arrived from the Caribbean. Don't know, David, are there still any fruit bats? Oh, looky what I found. Oh. Okay. Sorry, David, I'm sorry to interrupt you. For me talking to you. I thought it was drag mark. I got so excited. I mean, I shouldn't get excited because if I find drag marks, it really means that drag marks mean an animal's been killed, so I should be happy about it, but excited maybe. Meanwhile, it's just that monster of a monitor lizard that, I don't know, maybe it's got a scrub hair in its belly or something, but it's huge and it's dragging most of its body. One of these days we'll see it, but it's quite something. Huge monitor lizard. That sounds pretty awesome place to be, David. Reminds me of the southern end of Mafia Island over the archipelago of Chole, Dini. What are the other islands? I forget. Chole, Dini. Next stalk and the blacksmith lapwing. Woolly neck, don't fly away. There's some stalk ladies that wanted to meet you. Germany. Okay. Yes, Aaron. Query whether channel 2 on the audio is straight up at 12 o'clock. That's right. That's right. Maddie in Scotland. Maddie is saying Scotland is that description, Maddie. Just picture the rocks and mountains and dales and waterfalls from all the rain and the greenery. Just almost picture spot. And of course one of the most threatened in Scotland is the Scottish wildcat. Somewhat similar to our African wildcat. Probably very similar circumstance in that domestic cats are wiping out the purebred gene pool of the Scottish wildcat. There's too much interbreeding perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me on that, Maddie, if I am. Hello, monkeys. Run away, why don't you? I'd say the sea eagles as well, Eddie. I'd say your sea eagles, although they might be coming back, but not only sea eagles, golden eagles. I'd say that the eagles are probably another feature there, as well as some of the quail species. No, that's guess not. They're bred so that they can be shot. The salmon, wild salmon. Okay, so nothing much happening here in this part of the world. Sad. Cross the river again. I didn't find any tracks. I was looking. Doesn't look like any of those cats. I wonder if that can't be a crocodile. Well, who knows, mate? There seems something there. But I would recognize a crocodile. Crocodile doesn't walk with its belly on the bottom, or on the ground. Lift its belly. Unless it's tired of walking, because it's done a lot of walking. Yes, Aaron, next. Question. Hello Julia, welcome to our drive this afternoon. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday. Julia in, I can't presume to know, because I don't know which Julia. But Julia wants to know about warthogs. Julia's asking about the warts. Do they really have warts? There's a flower.
Yep.
Very small.
How about not in between?
Don't know what it is. Definitely hibiscus family, and got a very peculiar petal shape, an asymmetrical shaped petal. And I don't have camera batteries because they were on charge. At least I should have left if I wasn't going to bring them. I would have left them on charge. But to make matters worse, I took them off charge so that I could take photographs in case I saw a flower, which I did. Well, I'll come back. One of the hibiscus families, the Malvasia, mellow salmon. Sunday flower for the ladies. I'll get it close up soon. I know where it is. It's growing, and its leaf is very similar to the dwarf hibiscus, which is a much tinier flower than that. But of course, it's very typical hibiscus shape, and it's a very pretty little flower. So it comes out white. And unlike the gardenia that turns yellow and brown, this little dwarf hibiscus actually turns scarlet. It goes pink and then scarlet as the flower ages. But it is tiny. It's kind of the size of my pinky nail. That one, its petal is as big as a dwarf hibiscus. Maybe that's just a mini hibiscus. Where was I? Julie asked a question about warthogs and warthogs. And yes, they have warts, how they get named through the warts. And now I have to find a warthog to point out its warts. So, what shall I do? I will tell you that the female only has one pair of warts. In fact, I'll tell you what we can do. Maybe I'll show you in the book, and then you'll be able to look for it the next time we see them. It's a lot easier that way, having a picture in your head about how they look. Jonathan Kingdon, where are you? Here we go. Oh, look, there's the hair of an animal. Can't leave that. Very long hair with some white, not a human hair. Just give it to one of my forensic friends who can put it in their data bank in case they ever have to investigate something. Suidae, the pigs, the suids. There we go. Although it's not going to give me. Oh, there it is going to give me some idea. So, the warts on the warthog are on the face, and these are different faces. I know it's not a great picture, but maybe you can see that. And you can see a very distinctive difference between the male and the female. The male on the left, female on the right. Now, the male has very, very prominent warts below the eye. That's also somewhat to help protect the eye during fighting. The female's warts are not as big below the eye, but that is where she has her warts. The male, the difference between the male and the female is that he has an extra pair of warts halfway between the eye and the snout, on sort of behind his tusks, and obviously through age those warts get bigger. So these are three different males, as you can see, different tusk sort of shapes. What is very distinct as well about females and males in warthogs is that their tusk shapes are different. The female tusks are far more curved. The male tusks are more open and invariably worn from all the digging that they do and, well, getting them ready for weapons. The weapons actually are the lower tusks. The lower tusks, they're self-sharpening on the upper tusks. I wish I could have brought my warthog skull. I have one at home. Perfect warthog skull. It was a leopard kill and it fell into a bush, so it didn't touch the ground. So hyena, nothing will get it, and so it hasn't got any markings or anything on it. Nothing missing from it. But yes, the male has two pairs of warts on his face, the female only one. See the dust come out of that. Dusty books. They've got dust from many different countries, these books. Some of these books lived in my Land Rover for 3 months in Tanzania last year, and that dust and rain. Can't do without books. You can have your electronic media and they only work as far as you've got. Oh, I suppose you can get charges, overcharges. here's an argument booked against electronic devices. When charged by a lion, what are you going to throw first? A book to distract it, or an iPad, or an iPhone 5? And how distracted is a lion going to be having an iPhone 5 coming at it versus a book with all the pages flaring out? Put a book back together. Not so easy to put the phone back together. But I've had to do that. I've had to do that with an angry lion. Don't have the book with me, but I'll show you. I've got it. You might have seen it in the days of Newman's Drive. It was my Newman's Birds of Kruger. It was in like about 5 pieces, and I was missing the pages as well as the book. That's from being used in defense against the charging lion. Yes, Aaron. I heard a noise. Grass on the side sounded like a thunder. Okay, so no sign of cats or anything. Brief. A lot of questions. Let's deal with them. Clancy. How are you, Clancy, Ohio? See if I can remember all of that. I'll look at this Nyala, and there's another pool. Ohio. Home to what? Cedar Park. Amusement Park. Or what was it? Forget. But also, most importantly, Clancy is saying, is the Native American Bureau Ground, if I'm not mistaken, from communications with Clancy. These are the Sioux Indians. Cedar Point, the Sioux Nation. Sorry. PC slip. Cedar Point. And of course, the other thing that Clancy is saying is that the biggest threat in Ohio is weather and tornadoes, severe weather conditions, which we luckily don't experience here. Yes, Aaron. Noreen. Hello, Noreen. Where are you from? Where's my hat feather? Which one? I've got a piece of fur in my feather at the moment. Scrub hair fur. Feathers don't last long in my hat. They get damaged, or they fall out, especially when I'm driving my Land Rover and the wind is blowing and I'm driving at like 30-40 miles an hour, and my hat held on purely by aerodynamics alone. Feathers tend to fly out. That's what feathers were for. They fly. So I tend not to wear feathers in my hat for too long. When I find them, I put them in. Got a little elephant on the right side of my hat, and this little piece of scrub hair fur that only remembered last night is still there. And what else was the question? Wild dog in Thornybush. there were a couple of wild dog. I don't know how many there were a few days ago, but the wild dog come in and they go out. They've got their secret tunnel. They're not tunnels, I'm joking. They're just gaps in the fence, or maybe even tunnels under the fence. We do, Aaron? Oh, I see what you... Yes, okay, yes, so we have... Yes, I'm on the wild dog issue. Let me move forward. Although, let's carry on watching some of the... Yeah, thanks, dude. We'll move along. We're going to head up towards Mileti Road now. See if any signs of our other friends are around before the sun goes down. Some wild dog came into the reserve a few days ago, and before then the previous wild dog that were here were weeks ago. No, actually a couple of months ago. Yebo. Okay, Donna. Nice question, or rather, a nice comment from Donna. I was just going to take a quick walk around and look for tracks quickly. And once again, unfortunately, looking for tracks, I've got to look into the sun. Be back shortly. A really big baboon that was here. I'm thinking that there might be a power struggle going on, and that's why we're hearing so much out of the baboon of late. So Donna in Southwest Florida, sort of triggering all sorts of memories in my head. Saying that, well, not only, well, one of the main issues in Florida was the fact that the panthers, Florida panther is actually a specific animal. It's not the same. It's a subspecies, if I'm not mistaken, of the mountain lion. It's not the same as your Central states, south, western sort of California. It's not the same as the mountain lion. It's a subspecies, and it's a very specific animal because of the habitat in Florida. And I can remember in '96 when I was there was a proposition in California that was being tabled or being voted on regarding the status of the mountain lion in California. Obviously, a lot has changed since then, but since I was there, and I was there to try and study wildlife, I tried my best to get onto the wildlife study that's involved mountain lion, but of course couldn't manage that. So yes, I became very familiar with the plight of the Florida panther, but also intrigued and surprised at the green belts that are trying to be, or they were trying to produce green belts to link up the last remaining habitats of some of the Florida panthers. Of course, then there's habitat destruction, land loss. So what else that there was something else I think as well, Florida you were saying. I know one of the biggest threats in the Everglades right now, well, the number of Burmese and African pythons that have been released and that are actually becoming a threat to the local populations of animals. Yes, Aaron. Ed, good afternoon, Ed. Thanks for that. Anything? Ed wants to know, are there any cougars or bobcats in any part of Africa? No, there are not, unless they're kept in zoos. But they're not in Africa, no. Our lynx is the caracal, somewhat different to your bobcat, but it's the same size, and the closest thing that we have to human mountain lion is cheetah. Mountain lions aren't related to lions that closely. They're closer related to cheetah. They're not a panthera, they're not a class with this cat under the genus Panthera. Not the heavy metal band either. Yep. Linda. Thanks. Linda, hello Pepperbird. In Texas, the javelinas, they're smaller than warthogs, but I've never heard of them. Strange. Javelina. They evidently become a pest. They like hanging around humans and they chase cars on the highways. I'm sure there must be a few of them that end up in the pot. Sure. Stop calling me Shirley. My name's Linda. Baboons. They've been everywhere today, these primates. Yibble. It's nice. Sunday afternoon, just talking to the rest of the world. Would like to hear from Europe, UK, Ireland, we've had Scotland, and US and Canada. Back to Florida. Thanks, David. About 100 miles north of the Keys. Island zoned agricultural, but it's not over. I can't remember the word David used, but I get the impression it's not over exploited, it's not overused, overgrown, overpopulated. And fishing is for food. Yes, overrun. There we go. That was the word David used. Thanks, Aaron. What have we got on the Letty Road besides the moon train? I haven't even been listening to the radio. Been off because I've been talking to you all. Okay, I'm just listening to the other radio. Take the stand by. I haven't at all. Now it's not quiet. Okay, go ahead, Aaron. I don't want to drive into another fighting. Not likely. Hello, buffalo. Stop and listen and look at that buffalo for now. That's from who? Mona in Germany. Guten Tag. How are you, Mona? Mona's saying we always see hyena tracks. Do I think we'll ever get to see one alive? I certainly hope so. I think very soon we might get this all worked out that we can cover a larger area, and we'll go and have a look at the hyena den to see if there is perhaps any chance of seeing some cubs. I'm not sure. I believe there are, in fact, a couple of litters of different ages, but the guys haven't been talking about the den for some time now, so I imagine it's been moved by the hyenas. So we need to go. There are birds calling. I saw some vervet monkeys at the top of a tree. And Mona was also asking whether or not I've ever had any encounters with hyena while on a drive. No, not really, actually. I've always felt relatively safe hyenas. I've had youngsters sniffing my shoes and all sorts of things. See, these monkeys are all looking down there, and there were some alarmist calls from birds down there. So, monkeys at the top of the tree looking that way. either down Thornybush or Mangawan. Let's see. Yeah, they're looking down this road. No, I've had a few tense moments at home with hyena. Definitely a leopard around. I'm almost 100% sure now. At home, around the fire, I've had hyena coming by, and they are not afraid, and that's disconcerting. When you've a giant, this sort of huge hyena, and she doesn't react to you shouting at her, and he's the same one that comes in my door sometimes. Step out of the kitchen after cooking some food, and I'm stepping out of the kitchen. My house is just one big round bungalow with a little kitchen and bathroom off of it. All big open. The kitchen is like separate, and the bathroom is separate, but the main area is just a big round area, open plan. So I've come out of the kitchen, and there's this hyena a few steps inside my front door. I know I'm supposed to close the door. I've got a stable door, and I usually keep the stable door closed. I sleep with it open, the top's open. All my windows are open. I sleep with it. I even have a bat that's better than a mosquito net. I have a bat that comes in and it does these, I'm sure it has the time of its life. It comes in and it does these rounds, catching insects in my house. I've even felt its wings brush my face when it takes these mosquitoes that are bugging me. I'm lying in bed and I'm hearing this mosquito, and I'm too lazy to get up and take out the mosquito net. And this mosquito's buzzing around my ear, and the next minute the bat comes and eats it. Happens all the time. I have snakes that come in, I have birds that come in, I have, well, the insects, mostly it's the wasps. You know, I can't close my windows because of the wasps. What are they going to do? They can't get to their nest. Can't finish building their nest. Just past now the go-away birds. No tracks in the road. We'll head down here, then we'll go down Thornybush. But yeah, it's a different story when there's a hyena standing there and I'm cornered in a round bungalow by a hyena at the door, my only exit. Or the James Bond dive out a window. No, but generally she then turns around eventually and goes away. When I just start talking to her and she says, "Oh, you're just boring me to tears," and then she turns around and walks away. Just listen to some noises a second. Sounds like a rat. Yes, Aaron. Continue. I'm babbling on and on. Nee. Oh, there's evidently a lot of emails. Penny! Okay. I'll have to read that when I get back. Hibiscus barbosa. Or... I'm not too sure what it is. battling with pronunciation. Where's that bird that's complaining? I think it's just complaining about the leopard that's walking around. Not anymore, eh? Romania depressor. Let's see, flower book, tree book. I've got to get that new flower book. I can't seem to find it at Kalahari.com. Flowers, where are you? Flowers, those are mammals. Those are birds. Those are trees. Those are butterflies. There's no flower book. I'll try this one. That's my other flower books here. Let's have a look at hibiscus. While I'm listening. Hibiscus. Okay. And another question. Evidently quite a few questions. Let's try and get to them. Hibiscus. Xylobus. Barbosa 256 in this book. Who knew? Look, here's a page from my bird book that's broken from throwing at lions. I told you, it's the Swallows and Swifts page. Now I've forgotten what page that was on. Hey. Talk about attention problems. Where were we? Hibiscuses. 256. Well, it could well be. If it occurs, but you see that's bright red. Very similar, Penny. Very, very similar. Almost identical. Petals are slightly more strangely shaped. Yellow. This one says November to February. KwaZulu-Natal, Swaziland and Mozambique. That's the Malvasia. What was the other one? What? I forget. Hermania. Would have been Hania. Hermania depressa. I don't have Hermania. There are Hermanias here, but they're Staculia family. They're not Hibiscus family. Hermania depressa. HERMANNIA. After Herman. Not the cameraman Herman. He wishes. Hermania. Heliotropium. Hermania. I don't have depressa in this book. Okay. Sorry, I'm wasting all. Not wasting. I'm just using up all of our drive time here. Okay, next question. I'll look at that, Penny. Thanks for the heads up. It does look very, very much like Barbosa, except it's yellow. And they say it's only red in that book. Anita Fabian's book. Maybe your book. I'm sure Penny's got that book that covers KwaZulu-Natal and the whole northeastern part of the country. Julia's in Texas. Hello, Julia, in Texas. Now I know where you're from, Julia. And you're welcome. you there thanking me for answering all your questions. Anytime between 6:30 and 9:30 a.m. Central African time, and 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. Make it 5:30 p.m. Soon it'll be 6. Sun's getting a little bit later and later. We're going to watch it getting closer to the mountain. Go ahead. Lynn in Yes, actually, Lynn, you're right. Lynn, I'm surprised to hear from you, actually. Welcome to my drive. I haven't heard from you yet. If this is Lynn in Canada, then I'm thinking of Lindy, Alaska, Canada. Because it sounds like it, because you're saying that you would throw the iPad or the iPod or the electronic device rather than the book at a charging animal. Because I know exactly where you're coming from. Because theoretically I would too, but it is. That's what I thought, because it sounded like you. I remember you used to like the sound of the landing going through the water, splashing. I used to like that too. Now there isn't any water to splash through anymore. What's vibrating? Yes. Who has used for electronic devices out here in this wonderful wilderness? Well, semi-wilderness. Canada, you have wilderness. Alaska too. Heather, hello Heather, in Alaska. Yo, go ahead, Christian Farm. Ah, see, another one of my favorites. Yes, go ahead. Okay, I can't remember all of that, Sharon. Testing my memory ability here. And let's do this one at a time. I'll use the radio. Aaron. Okay, from the top. Because from the top is just sort of general wildlife. This is Sharon in. Okay, it's a long one. Okay. Sharon, another one of my favorite people out there is Sharon in Austria. Sharon mentioning all the things in Austria that are of concern. And excuse me a moment. There's a spider with long feathers. Was. Well, it's just the spiders send out strands of silk at time of day to start spinning their webs, so they often get a strand in front of the camera. Porcupine pie, vanilla soup, tutti frutti, porcupine pie, porcupine pie, porcupine pie. Neil Diamond, 1970. You're coming up all this time. That's going to hurt me if I leave it there. I know it. I can see it happening. If I put it there. Shangaan tradition. Keep the porcupine quill underneath your visor. You don't ever get stopped by the police. I get stopped a lot. Hit the Land Rover and think that stop it. sure we'll find something wrong there. We can earn some money from it. Get a bribe. Sharon saying quite a lot, evidently quite a big email. It's going to be a bit difficult to convey over the radio, but sounds pretty awesome actually. All the issues in Austria and Central part of Europe, and funny enough, one of the only countries that I've visited in Europe was Austria, and a bit of Germany, but some pretty important issues in Austria. One interesting thing about Austria is the presence of the bearded vulture in the Alps, which is the same as the bearded vulture we get down here in our mountains around KwaZulu-Natal, Swaziland, Drakensberg area. But thanks, Sharon. I wish I had a printer, because then I could print like something like that. It's very long and then read it, but I don't have a printer. Okay, next question, please. Linda, this is Linda in Hot Dallas, I think. I wonder what they're lining up for. They're saying it's the feral pig population that has become aggressive in Texas, not the javelinas. Big Bend Central Cut Line. Could be the line. I'm hearing too far. The Hoop cut line too far north. Well, maybe they're going to come south tonight. Yo! This is the line. It's talk back on too far. Yes, Aaron. This is pretty crowded. Sorry. Actually, some of it is my driving, but most of it is just the quality of the content. James. Hello, James. Lieutenant Colonel. James asking about waterbuck and water buffalo. Are they immune to venom of snakes? And is it true that honey badgers are not affected by venomous snakes? No. Actually, James was asking about waterbuck and buffalo referring to I guess cobras and things that might. This door's rattling again. It's not closed properly. I guess mostly referring to cobras and things that might be in the water. But no, James, they wouldn't be immune. Also do with a bit of Q20 on the lash. They wouldn't really need it. It's not necessarily animals that are associated with water, because although there are some cobras that then there are some cobras that hunt in the water, but generally speaking, no. Or around water. But honey badgers, yes. I've seen film. I've never personally witnessed it. I've seen film of honey badgers being bitten by puff adder and rolling over and waiting for the venom to wear off. I don't know about cobra venom. I'm not too sure. The spinning cobra has cytotoxic venom, which is the same venom as the puff adder, and the neurotoxic snakes, I don't know how that would affect something like a 100-day jump. So I don't know if it's just the neurotoxins or just the cytotoxin. Not sure. But yes, they are certainly. Wow, look at that color of that sky. That's pretty awesome. Keisha in Ohio. Hi Keisha. Wanting to know if listening to, I suppose, with me tracking, wondering if I do it in my sleep. Funny enough, I do. I do dream about tracking. And Keisha's saying I remind her of her mother, because when they're out in the country, that's all she does. That's interesting. Mom would probably enjoy tracking some of our animals. Ohio. Stop here and I want to get a beautiful shot up the river. That's up the river and the mountain. And that little peak up at the top there with the antenna on, I don't know if you'll be able to make them out on the TV or computer screens, but way up there, that's Maripskop. Bit of a far walk.
A bit of a far walk.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to climb it though, go through all the different habitats. Although I suppose, driving up there, I believe it's quite steep at times, so you're going quite slowly most of the way. I've never, in my life, 40 years, 50 years, never been up there. I've been close. I've been out to the canyon and the top of that escarpment in different places, but not there at that point. Okay, can we go? Maripskop. Marip must have been a person. Kop is head. That's Marip's head. Huge, monumental piece of mountain. Of the Drakensberg. Yes, Aaron. What you got? other almost cliff face just in front. It's just get past these reeds that will be in the way. I don't know how well it'll come out.
Quite nice.
Done. That's an interesting question, Don. Since Thornybush is a fenced-in reserve, are all the animals native, or were some of the animals brought in after it was fenced in? Well, the answer to that question is yes, sort of, and yes, pretty much. Yes, sort of, the animals all are native. I don't think the Nyala are, I have to be honest. I don't think Nyala really occurred here prior to the 1980s. I don't remember Nyala in this area as a kid. I can check with neighbors who've lived here for 30 years. I can check with people who are other people, but generally every animal that is here is native to the area. It's indigenous, what we call indigenous. So we move on. While I drive. And multitask. I've got a hands-free kit. Yes. Thornybush, some areas of Thornybush were probably farms where animals that once occurred here were maybe hunted out or wiped out in place to take, or rather to make space for cattle or other farming activities that might have occurred on some of the properties here. But most certainly things like elephants and lions and some of the other species must have been brought into Thornybush because they didn't exist. They existed here before humans cut up the properties and put fences up, and then when all the fences came down again and they made a big private game reserve, they decided to restock it with animals that once did occur here. So let's try and hold it. Well, here's the stick then. You don't have to stand up because I need to drive and I can't drive standing up. There we go. Thanks, man, David. So kind of a yes to both questions. Yes, then that animals are indigenous, and yes, there were animals brought back into the area because at some point in history they had been wiped out or they had been eradicated from the area, and it's now important to try and get what is shouting at. The shrike shouting at something. Biodiversity is important. The number of different species that a habitat should hold is vital to the health and survival of that habitat. Take a particular component away and you could possibly have a whole chain reaction and the habitat collapsing, which I have to be honest is probably what is responsible for the pretty uniform type of bush that we experience on this southern tip of Thornybush, in that somewhere along the line there was something that made a change here, that made it favorable for things like this silver clusterleaf, Terminalia floricea, make it proliferate as much as it has in the south, as well as the grasses that occur here, which are not very palatable grasses. They're not climax grasses. They're not the kind of grasses that animals are really grazing on. And so there's a lower biomass of mammals because the habitat can't really support it. Because once upon a time there was a breakdown in the natural biodiversity. that occurred here, and where one, maybe just even the removal of one species was enough to send it into a spiral of unpalatability or unattractiveness. And it will take decades, especially maybe far hastened by the re-emergence or the reintroduction of elephants. Maybe as a result of that might change, because elephants will come through and they'll break down a lot of these trees and they'll open it up again, and over time dead wood will feed the soil and that will correct itself. The point is that Thornybush has made an effort to restock this area with the animals that are needed to create a succession of plants and to create the natural biodiversity that once existed to make the habitat healthy. The different types of dung that can support the different types of scarabs that can feed the soil, the different types of animals that eat the different parts of the plant so that they open it up for the other animals that eat. Yet again, different types of the plant, but they depend on those animals before them to open it up for them. We as humans fail to understand that when you take one animal out of an ecosystem, you might as well just hold in your hand, because like a half a car, eventually everything else starts feeling the effect of that one missing thing. And it's because everything is so co-interdependent, or if that's even a word. Everything is so dependent on everything else for survival within an ecosystem. Every facet of it, every animal, insect, bird, fish, tick, flea, mosquitoes, they're all necessary. There's a bushbuck, there's a bushbuck. Yes, Aaron. Haven't seen bushbuck much, but there's a little bushbuck. Yes, Aaron. And there's a duiker to the left of the bushbuck. Some duiker crossed the riverbed in front of the bushbuck. Exactly what I wanted the duiker to do. Ran in front of the bushbuck. Give you a size comparison. Richard in Jamaica. Greetings, Richard in Jamaica. There's a vervet monkey. Vervet monkeys and bushbuck have quite a nice relationship, which I'll get to shortly. But Richard wanting to know, we go on safari 7 days a week. We do for the time being, Richard. Yes, we do. We're live twice a day, 7 days a week. But we will be ending at the end of this month of July. And I guess we'll all be watching the space to see if and when and where Live Drives return. We don't have a permanent home, so we're hoping to find maybe another reserve to go to, another wildlife area. We've decided that it's going to be more fun to maybe find different areas over time. But unfortunately, this property can no longer. Well, they need the space after this month, so we are moving on. But there are other reasons too. I have seen bushbuck and vervet monkeys feeding together and actually having such a close relationship that the same bushbuck hang out with the same troop of monkeys, and they develop a really personal closeness because the monkeys actually groom the bushbuck. They take ticks out of base of their tail and between their legs, and they tease them and run around and play with their children. And I suppose the safety thing for all of them. Bushbuck are happy because of the trooper monkeys around. You'll be able to tell where the leopard's coming from. Bushbuck are the smaller cousins of Nyala. Nice to hear from Jamaica. I didn't get to Jamaica, I only got to Puerto Rico. In terms of my one exploration into the Caribbean and the El Yunque rainforest, which was phenomenal. Seeing the smallest orchid in the world with a flower as big as my fingernail. Oh, it was incredible. Wow, what a journey. Yes, Aaron. And who's next? From what part of the world are you? Dry throat. Andalea. Yebo. Punat. Okay. Thank you, Clancy, with your pictures of the drive today. For my scrapbook. Thank you, Clancy. I think one day I'll have to go into Ohio and spend some time with some Native American people. It sounds like there's similar philosophies to what I've learned from Mother Nature. Brother, sun, sister, moon, and the children of nature, my brothers. Yes. Bucket list item. Note to self. Can you imagine tracking mountain lions or something? What do you get in Ohio, Fancy? You get mountain lions. Digger, stop squeaking, please. Oh, one of the Kennedys. Is that Kathleen? Aaron? Must be quite a delay. When I ask Aaron something 20 seconds later. Is that Kathleen? Kathleen Kennedy. One of the Kennedys. Kathleen wants to know, are there any Africanized honey or killer bees? Africanized honeybees. Huge delay. I don't know why that is. Probably because you're listening through my speakers and not through the other computer. That's probably why. Okay. No wonder. Well, the Africanized honeybees that you have over there in that part of the world are African bees from Africa. that's hybridized with local bees. That's why they're called Africanized honeybees, because they got into your apiaries and your beekeepers' hives and crossbred, and the result was this rather aggressive offspring that said, but we're African, why are we living in America? So we're angry about it, and we're going to sting everything we see. But the honeybees in Africa are still here in Africa, so they wake up in the morning and say, oh, we're still in Africa, life's good. We don't need to sting anything today. Okay, I'm sorry, Kathleen, I'm making fun. But we do have African honeybees. I have kept honeybees, although I have to admit, I have kept some species. This is the Cape honeybee, which is a little bit different to the Savannah, this kind of honeybee we get up here. They're not as aggressive down in the Cape, and I made honey from those bees. I would do anything to have a beehive here and make honey from whatever the bees want to feed on here. I mean, acacia blossom honey is delicious. I cannot believe it. But yes, we do have bees here, but as I said, they're not aggressive. I know I've got a couple of hives I know of at home, and although I've seen them sting people who do silly things. I can walk up to the hive and carefully stand there and watch the bees coming in and out. And I've had to stand close to it when I've been working on the Land Rover that parks there where they are. And keeping still, not minding them falling on my face, not minding them coming close to me. Calm is different, but people wave their arms around, and then of course the bees get aggressive, so they sting them, but they don't, unless you're allergic to bees. If you're allergic to bees, you've got a problem, serious. Doesn't matter how Africanized or European or American, I don't know what it is. Allergic to bee stings, very inepic. I've had incidents here in the land where the tools have disturbed bees, publishing, not them. Okay. That's a great signal. And a time check. Okay, but the time check. Thanks. Okay, so still got time for more questions. Illinois. Hello, Ellen. Ellen in Illinois, like a tongue, it's like a wire. How much wood does a woodchuck wood? How much? Yes, sorry, Ellen, I'm getting tongue-tied. Ellen in Illinois, how are you, Ellen? One thing to know, if I just said that safaris and then live safaris are going to be over at the end of July, yes, they are. This was only a 3-month stint to begin with, and end of July is the end of that 3-month stint. So we will be stopping the live drives at the end of the month. And there is, at this point in time, Ellen, at the moment, the end of the live drives, it's unclear, undecided, unplanned, it's not done yet. It's not. There's no way of knowing when and if. When, if, or where. It'll be a kind of watch the space thing. When you're looking at Juma Waterhole Cam and Pete's Pond and all the other cameras, there will be I don't know if anything changes, the Wildest will be posting something there. But for most of us, we came in for this 3-month stint of this series of live drives. We also came in to film a series about the live drives and about what it takes to set up live drives. So while we are filming about live drives and things, they are going to come to an end. That's because Thornybush could only house us for a short period of time, and we use that bit of time to be able to do what we want to do. But the whole 3D series is all about the drives and user viewers and this interaction that we have. So for the last few weeks that we're here, we're going to try and squeeze as much of this interaction in as possible, and we'll just have to wait and see what the future brings after July. That's a question. I only work here. I'm just a worker. Diego, you have a question. What is your question? And that we're going to lose signal a bit. Oh, it's a buffalo. A big buffalo. Playing landmines in the road. No, he's not. He's wetting the road. Okay, I'll stop. I won't disturb your toileting. Oh, look at you. Knoxville, Tennessee. Knoxville, Tennessee. Hello, Lynn. How long was I in the States in the 90s? What was I doing there? I think. Glad you enjoy the drive. Boy, have you been keeping it in all day, Mr. Buffalo? That's quite a puddle you're spreading down there. Just by the way, you probably can't feel it because it's good as wearing shoes with your hooves, but you're standing in it. Hello, old man Buffalo. Now I'm going to drive in it. I was in the United States for approximately 9 months. I was going to be there for about a year. Actually, it was going to work out to be about 11 months. I cut it a couple of months short. I got homesick. I had an argument with my girlfriend. And with my elephant too much. While I was there, I landed in New York. I went straight out to my friend's place on Long Beach, Nassau County. Okay, not yet. Where Buffalo goes. Okay, so New York, Chicago, on the west coast. Stayed with girlfriend on the west coast, little town called Atlas, south of Santa Cruz. Did a lot of skiing, mostly surfing, and riding riders mountain bike again, and haven't since. That was in 19 Mark State Park, where that big earthquake was 2 decades, a few years previously prior to it. Did a lot of wildlife stuff on our own because she was a veterinary student. She was a qualified vet from UC Davis, and we managed to hook up with wildlife studies in the Borrego Desert, near Borrego Springs, and up in Oregon, in some of the old growth forests. We're doing some bat studies, and we tried to hook up with some wild mountain lion studies. Went to speak to people in Baja, and we went down to Baja surfing and for some naturing. There's an owl. Look at this giant owl, eagle owl. I'm going to stop here because I don't want to fly. Look at the silhouette. There's our first big owl. I think it was Nicole was asking me about owls. Nicole in Germany. There's your owl, Nicole. Ein Uhu für Sie. German's getting rusty. Fiddy for you. Okay, so that was my trip to the States. Next question. We've got a few to get to before I say goodbye. Okay, no more questions. Closing the question line. Brenda. Brenda. I'm going to move forward so we can maybe get a better look. Not much closer, just a little. Highlight of my day, seeing this now. For my cousin Licia in Devon. Or my mom's cousin. Brenda. There's a milky eagle owl, a giant eagle owl. Can't see too many features of it. Sorry, Aaron, please repeat that last one. Oh, pangolin, yes. The normal pangolin, the ground pangolin. Teminki. Okay, a couple more questions and then we're going to have to say goodbye. Tora in Charlotte, North Carolina. No more dew than a dewdrop dew, if a dewdrop could drop dew. And that's in answer to how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood. Missed that. That was my father's favourite. I can see. Before we say goodbye. Good state of pellets. Thanks, Clancy. No mountain lion in Ohio. Although there was a black panther found, that's probably an escapee, no doubt. Hang on. There. What I'd do for that pellet. I don't know if you got that. You could see it. It was almost behaving like a cat about her ball. And just know to get that. It's not easy to see. Its back was. And a drop pellet. I'd love to know what's in that pellet. Because give me an idea what they're eating. Yes, so next question. Donna. That'll be in another drive. That's a long answer to that question. Is there somewhere in the world I haven't been, and is there somewhere where I have been to go? Yes. And what's the space? Because I will let you know next drive. Join us again tomorrow as we continue the saga of live drives here at Thornybush Private, as Mark and crew drive their Land Rover, specially adapted to these wonderful conditions with 3D cameras, the dusty, bouncy trails of Africa. Okay, I'll answer that one another time because I've got to think about it. I thought need to go into where I would like to go in the world. 99.9 recurring % of the world. I've only been to a little bit of Austria, a little bit of Germany, and a little bit of America, and a little bit of Puerto Rico, and a little bit of Mexico, a little bit of Israel, a little bit of Kenya, and a little bit of Tanzania, and a little bit of Zambia, and a little bit of Botswana, a little bit of Namibia, a little bit of Swaziland, a little bit of Lesotho, a little bit of Mozambique. So I've hardly been anywhere. I've hardly been anywhere. Okay, any more questions before I say goodbye? I don't even know what's been going on the radio today because I have turned it down the whole drive. Okay, there's a long email from Ramona in Germany, so I'll get to that. I'll answer Ramona in Germany on email. I'm going to turn. Okay, so great day. We've had a good fun afternoon, and sometimes just driving around and answering questions. Sometimes we see things where sometimes we can drive around and we're expecting a lot, we don't see anything. So we haven't really covered much ground, but we've at least seen a good few things this afternoon. Lovely end to the drive in the day. There's a giant eagle owl, the biggest of the eagle owls that we have here in this part of Africa. And well, 6:30 Central African time tomorrow morning. We'll see you again, as well as get more questions. And I want to hear from other parts of the world too. What was that noise? Something in the reeds down at the river. So goodbye everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Have a good week coming up. See you on my Monday before it's a lot of yours. Bye. Australia, New Zealand and Japan and the Far East beat us on Mondays.